She was ready to die. But then the human touched her. Wound smoke drifted over the battlefield like a heavy, silent ghost. The sky was ash gray. Cracked ships burned quietly in the distance. Blaster marks scarred the rocks. The war had moved on, but she hadn't. Kashara, once a proud warrior of the Valeran Empire, lay bleeding in a shallow crater. Her armor was broken. Her pulse was slowing. One of her forearms hung useless, shredded by plasma. Her side burned where shrapnel had torn through her skin. The war song of her people played softly in her mind. Honor in death, strength in silence. She had followed the code since childhood. Never be captured. Never beg for mercy. If you fall proud. Let the universe take you like a soldier. Her vision dimmed. She felt cold. Let it end. But then, a shadow moved above her. She expected a scavenger, maybe even a final blow from an enemy soldier. Instead, a voice spoke. Deep, calm, human. Easy. I got you. Don't move. Her weak eyes blinked open. A strange face leaned over her. Square jaw, brown skin smudged. With dust, human eyes full of something she had never seen on the battlefield. Compassion. He wasn't dressed like a commander. He looked like a field soldier. Body armor scratched, helmet gone, his name tag read Sergeant L. Granger. Why? Kashara gasped, her throat dry. Why save me? Luke Granger didn't answer right away. He pulled a field kit from his pack and began cleaning her wound with slow, steady hands. You're not dead yet, he said. She coughed. But I want to be. He paused, looked into her eyes. Well, tough luck. He pressed a gel patch over her injury. She hissed in pain. You'll live, he added, if I have to carry you myself. Kashara didn't remember passing out, but when she woke, she was somewhere dark and quiet. A cracked shelter half covered in vines and burnt steel. It smelled like smoke and human rations. Her wounds were wrapped, her armor stacked beside her. One of her arms was still numb and the human was still there. He sat near the wall, cleaning a small energy pistol. Still breathing, he said without looking up. Good. Kashara growled weakly. You should have let me die. Luke raised an eyebrow. Not my style. You are my enemy, she whispered. I'm a soldier. You're a soldier. Looks like both sides got tired and left us behind. She looked away. I do not want your pity. Luke laughed once. This ain't pity. It's duty. You're alive. That's enough. Later, as wind howled outside and the night grew colder, Kashara stared at the broken ceiling. The pain in her side pulsed with every breath. I am no longer a warrior, she said to no one. Luke stirred the fire with a piece of scrap. You still breathing? Yes. He pointed with his stick. Then you're still a fighter. She said nothing. Luke added softly. I've carried soldiers half dead before, but none like you. Kashara turned slowly. Why? Because even half dead, you still had your hand on your blade. She gave a faint smile. That's called honor. Luke met her gaze. Where I'm from, it's called stubborn. They both laughed, just a little. Suddenly, a noise outside. Sharp. Footsteps in ash. Luke moved quickly, placing a finger to his lips. Kashara reached for a blade, but gasped. Her arm wouldn't move. She was too weak. Luke stepped outside the shelter, weapon ready. Two figures appeared, scouts from an unknown faction. Luke raised his voice. Friendly, one injured. Stand down. One scout aimed. Kashara forced herself up. She stood beside the human, shaking, barely upright. She looked the scouts in the eye. You fire on him. You fire on me, too. The scouts hesitated, then slowly lowered their weapons. They left without a word. Luke looked at Kashara in shock. You didn't have to do that. Kashara sat back down, breathing hard. Yes, I did. That night the war song didn't play in her mind. Instead, She dreamed of something strange, not dying, but living, with a human beside her. A warrior's shame and the human who wouldn't let go. The next morning, Kashara sat in the corner of the shelter, her eyes staring at the dusty floor. She should have died in the crater. She had accepted it. That was the honorable way. But now, because of one human's choice, she was still breathing, still broken, still confused. Luke was outside, gathering scrap and broken tech to use for fuel. The war zone had left behind more than bodies. It had scattered machines, wires, and even memories. When he returned, he saw her where he'd left her, silent, still, and stiff. "You hungry?" he asked, setting down a ration pack. She didn't answer. Luke walked over, dropped a sealed protein bar in front of her, and sat nearby. "I get it," he said finally. "You're mad." She looked up slowly. "Mad?" "Because I ruined your perfect death scene." Kashara narrowed her eyes. "It was not a scene. It was sacred. And you interrupted my ending." Luke opened his bar, took a bite, and chewed quietly. "Well, I've seen a lot of endings. None of them looked sacred. To me." The silence stretched between them like a canyon. Finally, Kashara spoke. "I was raised to die with honor. We train for it. We sing for it. We pass it down. To be saved. By you. It's worse than defeat." Luke leaned back. "You think being alive is worse than being proud?" she glared. "Yes," he shrugged. "Then I guess I don't understand your people." "You don't." He stood up. "Still not letting you die." Later that night, Kashara tried to crawl away. She had found a sharp piece of metal under her sleeping mat. Her plan was simple. Slip out, finish what the war didn't. But as she reached the edge of the shelter, pain shot through her ribs. She collapsed. Luke was there in seconds, grabbing the metal from her hand. "Again?" he said. "Let me go," she hissed. "No." I said. "I heard you," he said firmly. "But I'm not leaving you to bleed in the dirt like garbage." Her voice cracked. "Why do you care? I'm not even your kind." Luke knelt beside her, his voice low and steady. "Because once, when I was trapped behind enemy lines, someone saved me too. A woman from another unit. She didn't know me. She just saw a soldier on the ground. He looked at her. You remind me of her." The next day, Kashara didn't try to escape. Instead, she sat by the fire and listened to Luke talk about Earth, about oceans that moved like living beasts, cities with lights that reached the sky, food that came in wheels and sticks, and music that played from tiny boxes. "Do your people not listen to music?" he asked. She shook her head. "We chant, we meditate, but not music like you describe." He handed her a small chip. "Try this." She plugged it into the translator. A soft melody filled the shelter. Slow, sad, beautiful. Her eyes widened. "What is this?" "Old Earth violin," he smiled. "From my mother's collection." Kashara closed her eyes, letting the sound fill her chest. She didn't cry, but something heavy in her heart moved. Over the next few days, she walked again, slowly. Her strength returned little by little. Luke helped her train, not like a medic, but like a soldier, quietly, respectfully, side by side. Kashara watched him, noticed how he spoke to the wind when he thought she couldn't hear. He mentioned names, friends, maybe people he'd lost. She didn't ask, but she understood. One evening, she sat near him as the fire burned low. "Do all humans talk to ghosts?" she asked softly. He didn't flinch. "Only the ones we miss." "Did they die in this war?" "Yeah." She looked down. "I miss my brothers too." Luke nodded. "Then maybe we're not so different." A silence grew between them, but it wasn't cold anymore. Kashara looked at her hands, scarred, healing. Then, at his hands, dirtied, calloused. She asked, "If I'm no longer a warrior, what am I?" He smiled. "You're alive." She tried to walk away, but her legs betrayed her heart. The sky above the ruin was turning blood orange, marking the 5th evening since the battlefield had fallen silent. Kashara stood at the edge of the cracked shelter, her newly healed body wrapped in bandages beneath her scorched armor. The wound in her rib still burned when she moved, but she could walk now, and she had made a decision. "I'm leaving," she said without turning. Behind her, Luke was boiling water over a makeshift heater. He looked up slowly. "You sure?" "I owe you my life," she said. "But that debt is paid. I cannot stay with you." Luke didn't answer right away. He placed the lid on the pot and wiped his hands on his pants. "Where will you go?" Kashara shrugged. "Anywhere. Back to the mountains. Maybe I'll find my people. Or maybe I'll walk until I disappear." Luke nodded. "Fair enough." She turned slightly. "That's it? No argument?" He gave a half smile. "Wouldn't change your mind anyway." She hesitated, then nodded in thanks. Without another word, she walked past the broken walls, out, into the red light of the setting sun. But after only 20 steps, her leg buckled. She stumbled, caught herself, and kept going. Another 10 steps. Her chest tightened, her heart thudded, not from exhaustion, but something else. She paused. Why is it harder to walk away than to die? She gritted her teeth and kept walking. Then suddenly, a sound, a snap. A shadow moved to her right. She spun fast, but not fast enough. A long stun whip cracked through the air and wrapped around her arm. She fell. 3 figures stepped out from behind the rocks. Dark armor, pale eyes, slaves of a nearby warring clan, scavengers. They moved toward her, weapons drawn. She rolled back and reached for her blade, but one kicked it away. "You're Vaelren," one of them hissed in a rough voice. "Rare find? Your body's worth credits," Kashara spat. "Touch me and you'll regret it." The lead scavenger laughed. "No one's coming to save you, broken warrior." That's when they heard it. Footsteps, heavy, fast. Then, crack, a steel pipe flew from the side and slammed into the first scavenger's helmet, dropping him. Luke charged into the scene, grabbing the second one by the arm and slamming him into the rock wall. The third swung at him with a blade. Luke ducked, rolled, and kicked the weapon away. The scavenger ran. Kashara stared, still on the ground, breathing hard. Luke turned, offering his hand. "You all right?" She took his hand, slowly. "You followed me?" He nodded. "I had a feeling you'd get into trouble." She frowned. "You could have been killed." He smiled. "So could you." Kashara looked down, then said quietly, "I was wrong." "About what?" "About being alone." That night, back at the shelter, she sat beside the fire. Luke was bandaging. His arm, one of the scavenger's blades had caught him. "You should let me do that," she said softly. He looked at her. "You offering to help?" "Just shut up and give me the cloth." She tied it tight, careful, but firm. "You're a good medic," he said. "I trained in battlefield aid," she replied. "But it's easier when the person I'm helping isn't dying." They both laughed. For a moment, silence returned. Then, Kashara looked at him seriously. "I was ready to leave today. I know. But my body wouldn't let me." Luke leaned in. "Why?" She hesitated. "Because my heart already stayed behind." The fire crackled. Outside, wind carried the scent of healing soil and rain. Luke placed another log into the fire. "Tomorrow," he said, "we move. I found a signal tower nearby. If it still works, we can call for evac." Kashara nodded. "Together?" He looked at her. "Always." She whispered something in her language, too soft for translation. "What did you say?" Luke asked. "It means, I no longer walk alone." Together, they took a stand. And shocked the enemy dawn broke with a pale yellow light. The ruins around them felt quiet, but not safe. Kashara pulled on her armor, what remained of it, and tightened her belt. Luke checked the last of his tools, loading a small pistol and 2 smoke bombs into his gear. The plan was simple. Reach the old communication tower 2 clicks east and send a signal for rescue. But nothing had been simple since the day they met. Luke looked at her. "You sure you're ready?" She nodded. "I've been ready since I chose not to die." He smiled. "Then let's go." The walk was quiet. Bird-like creatures scattered as they moved through tall grass and old debris. Smoke still rose in some places, but the smell of blood had faded. Halfway to the tower, they heard something. Metal scraping. Kashara froze. Her fingers touched the hilt of her blade. Luke crouched, motioning for her to stay low. 2 dark, armored scouts, Sark clan, stepped through the ruins ahead. One scanned the area with a heat sensor. The other carried a plasma spear. "They're searching," Luke whispered. "Probably looking for survivors." Kashara narrowed her eyes. "They won't take prisoners." Luke looked back. "Then we don't get caught." They split. Kashara moved to the left, climbing over the broken remains of an old satellite dish. Luke circled right, using the shadows of a collapsed building. But just as Kashara passed an old power box, her foot caught a tripwire. Click. She jumped back, but the sound of a mechanical trigger snapped through the air. An alarm beeped twice, then screamed. The Sark scouts turned instantly. "There," one shouted, pointing toward her. Kashara rolled behind cover. "I tripped it." Luke fired twice, drawing their fire away. "Get to the tower." They ran. Blaster bolts exploded around them. One grazed Kashara's shoulder, burning through armor. She cried out but kept running. Luke tossed a smoke bomb behind them, filling the area with gray mist. They slid behind a metal wall at the base of the tower. "Up!" Kashara shouted, pointing to the control panel halfway up. Luke began climbing. "Cover me!" She drew her blade. The Sark scouts appeared out of the smoke, moving fast. Kashara met them head-on. The first scout swung wide. Too slow, Kashara ducked and slashed upward, cutting through his armor. The second lunged at her, jabbing with the spear. She stepped aside, grabbed the shaft, and snapped it with a twist of her wrist. Then she kicked him square in the chest. He flew backward. One tried to shoot. Kashara threw her broken blade straight into his shoulder, pinning him to a wall. Above, Luke reached the panel. Come on, he muttered, fingers working fast. The system was cracked and flickering, but it had power. He flipped the emergency signal switch. Beep, beep, beep. Signal sent. He exhaled. Yes, but then a shot rang out. A sniper bolt hit the railing near him. He dropped low. We've got more incoming. Kashara looked up. Time to go. They fled again, deeper into the ruins behind the tower, but they didn't run far. They reached a wide platform surrounded by fallen statues, once part of an ancient monument. The open space was perfect for a trap, or a last stand. Kashara stopped. This is it. Luke looked around. What do you mean? She turned to him. We fight here. He hesitated. We might not make it. She stepped close. I would rather die beside you than live without meaning. Luke nodded slowly. Then let's make it count. They placed traps, wired bombs, set wires between pillars, used broken tech as bait, and then they waited. The Sark came. 5, then 10. Luke fired first. The traps triggered, fire. Smoke and sound shook the ground. Kashara moved like lightning, dodging, striking, defending. Luke covered her back, never missing a step. Together they moved like one. Two warriors from different worlds, but with one heart. At last, silence. The Sark were gone, defeated or retreating. Smoke drifted over the platform. Luke dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Kashara sat beside him, blood on her face, but not her own. You all right? He asked. She looked at him and smiled. I am now. Suddenly, a new sound filled the air. A ship. They looked up. A small rescue shuttle hovered above them. The signal worked. Luke laughed. Told you. She nodded. You were right. A beam of light scanned them. A voice came through. Human unit and Vial Ren warrior detected. Stand by for pickup. As the beam prepared to lift them, Kashara looked at him. I never thought I'd leave this place. Alive. He looked into her eyes. Neither did I. She woke up somewhere strange and saw her own reflection. The first thing she noticed was the clean air. There was no smoke, no blood, no fire, just a strange humming sound and the soft beeping of machines. Kashara's eyes opened slowly. A white ceiling above her, a glowing panel to the side, a smooth blanket over her chest. She was lying in a human recovery pod. For a second, she didn't move. Her warrior instincts told her it could be a trap, but then she heard it. She's awake. A nurse stepped closer. A human woman, gentle face, calm voice. You're safe, the nurse said kindly. You're in the United Human Medical Bay. You were brought here 2 days ago. Kashara tried to sit up, but her side still burned. Where is he? She asked, her voice hoarse. Sergeant Luke Granger? The nurse smiled. He's resting. Refused to leave until we treated you first. Kashara lay back down, eyes heavy again. I need to see him. You will, the nurse promised. Soon. Hours passed. Kashara sat on the edge of the bed, now, dressed in a simple gray uniform. Her wounds were covered with healing patches, still sore, but alive. A small mirror was placed in her room. She hadn't asked for it, but she couldn't stop looking. Her face was thinner, her skin still marked with scars. One of her horns had a crack near the base, a permanent reminder of the battle. But her eyes looked different, not just tired, changed. I don't know who I see anymore, she whispered. A knock. On the door. She turned quickly. Luke stepped in, walking slowly, one arm still bandaged. He grinned when he saw her. You look better than the last time I saw you. She gave a small smile. You look worse? He laughed. Fair. He sat beside her, careful not to bump her side. For a moment they didn't speak. Then he reached into his pocket. I brought something. He handed her a folded piece of paper. She opened it. A child's drawing. 2 figures. One human, one alien, standing together beneath a bright sun, smiling. The nurse's kid made it, he explained. Said her mom told her the alien lady was a hero. Kashara stared at the drawing for a long time. No one's ever called me that, she said quietly. Luke looked at her. Maybe it's time they did. Later, doctors and officers came. They spoke to her with caution. Kind words, but careful eyes. They asked questions. Do you know where your people are now? Will you return to your empire? Do you plan to fight again? Kashara answered softly. I don't know. What else could she say? She was a warrior once now. She wasn't sure what she was. One evening, Luke invited her to the observation deck. The view was open to the stars. Planets shimmered in the distance. A large moon glowed nearby. They stood side by side, watching in silence. This is my favorite place, Luke said. Up here. Things feel peaceful. Kashara nodded. Where I grew up, the stars were warnings. Always shining down. Always watching. Luke turned to her. What do they feel like now? She looked up. Like possibility. Back in her room, she stared at the drawing again. The child had given her a name under the picture. Kasha the Brave. She touched the words with her finger. Brave. Not warrior. Not killer. Just someone who chose to live. The next day, a message came from the Vial Ren command. They had found her, and they were sending a ship. Kashara stood still for a long time after reading the message. Luke entered. What did they say? They're coming, he nodded. You gonna go? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked at the mirror again, at the woman with scars, the woman who had been saved, not just from death, but from herself. I don't know yet, she said. Luke stepped closer. Whatever you choose, you don't owe anyone anything. She looked at him. No, but I owe myself something. They called her a traitor, but she'd already chosen her side, the Vale Wren. Ship arrived 3 days later. It didn't land with grace. It dropped from the clouds like a hammer, loud, sharp, and proud. Its sharp wings cut through the sky and its dark metal reflected no light. From the human medical base, Kashara watched silently through the window. They're early, she said. Luke stood beside her, arms crossed. And loud. Kashara didn't smile. Not this time. A meeting was arranged in the landing bay. Kashara wore her armor, not the broken one from the battlefield, but a repaired version, still marked, still hers. She walked slowly, her legs strong now, but her heart heavier than ever. Luke walked with her until the entrance to the bay. I'll wait here, he said, unless you want me inside. She paused. I need to face this alone. Luke nodded. Just remember, what they say doesn't define who you are. She looked at him. But what I do next might. Inside, the bay doors closed with a hiss. Group of Vale Wren officers stood waiting. Tall, sharp-armored, faces like carved stone. Their leader was General Shartok, one of the high warriors of their empire. Kashara Vale, he said coldly. You live. She bowed slightly. Yes. His eyes narrowed. And yet, we received no signal, no beacon, only a human distress code, with your name attached. Kashara stood straight. I was wounded. A human soldier found me. He saved my life. Shartok stepped forward. And you allowed him to touch your body, to carry you, heal you, fight beside you. Her voice didn't shake. Yes. Gasps ran through the group. Shartok sneered. You were trained to die in honor, not survive in shame. Kashara's fists clenched. I followed that path. I chose death, but I was stopped. And now I see, maybe living takes more courage than dying. Shartok's voice thundered. You speak like them. She looked him in the eye. Maybe I learned something from them. Silence. The kind that feels like thunder before a storm. You are no longer a soldier of Vale Wren. Shartok declared. You are an embarrassment. Kashara blinked, but no tears came. Only clarity. I didn't come here to be accepted, she said. I came to tell you something. Shartok raised a brow. I am not yours anymore. One of the other officers stepped forward. You would betray your blood? I didn't betray anything, she said. I chose a new path. Shartok's face darkened. Then stay among the humans. Let them lie to you with kindness, but when the next war comes, don't expect to be called home. Kashara nodded. Then I won't. She turned, walked away, did not look back. Behind her, the ship hissed and lifted. Its engines roared. It disappeared into the sky like a wound, closing in the air. Luke was waiting outside. His eyes searched her face. How did it go? They offered me shame, she said. And you? I offered them freedom. That night, the stars outside the window felt closer than ever. Luke brought 2 cups of warm liquid, human tea. Kashara had grown to like it. They sat together in silence. Finally, she spoke. All my life I was told who to be, a weapon, a warrior, an example. He nodded. I know how that feels. But now, she added, for the first time, I feel like I get to decide who I become. Luke looked at her. So, what now? Kashara stared at the stars. There's a galaxy out there, and for once I don't need permission to explore it. The next morning she asked for asylum with the Human Alliance. She filled out forms, passed tests, was assigned a translator and an officer to help her adjust. Some looked at her with suspicion, some with curiosity, but a few with respect, especially when they heard her story. Weeks later, she stood on the deck of a human starship, a real one, not broken, not hiding. She wore a new suit, part human armor, part Vale Wren style, custom. Hers. Luke walked beside her. He was now training new recruits. Never thought I'd see the day, he said. What day? You on a ship flying with us. Kashara smiled. I'm not flying with you, Luke. He raised a brow. She looked out the window. I'm flying. With purpose. Her name was once feared. Now it was respected across stars. The alarm blared. Red lights flashed across the corridor. Kashara stood tall in the human command center, wearing her new armor, gray and silver, with a thin streak of violet down the arm. She was no longer just a guest. She was part of the unified defense fleet now, and this was her first mission. The distress call came from a colony ship orbiting a gas giant. The message was broken, static-filled. Pirates had attacked. Communications were lost. Kashara and Luke were assigned to lead a joint rescue team. As the dropship descended, Luke checked his gear. Nervous? Kashara looked at him, calm. No. He raised an eyebrow. Not even a little? She shook her head. I've already died once, remember? Luke chuckled. Right. The ramp dropped. The air outside was thick with smoke. The colony station was damaged. Walls torn open, supplies scattered, but it was quiet. Too quiet. Split into pairs, Kashara ordered. Stay sharp. Watch for movement. The human troops listened. She wasn't just a warrior now. She was a leader. Luke walked beside her, rifle ready. They moved through a dark corridor. Sparks flickered from the ceiling. The silence pressed against their ears. Then, a scream. They rushed toward it. A small group of colonists huddled behind a sealed door. Pirates were trying to break in. Kashara didn't wait. She charged. A pirate raised his blaster. Too slow. Kashara slid low, kicked his legs out and drove her elbow into his jaw. Another pirate swung a pipe. Luke caught it mid-air, spun him around, and sent him flying into a wall. The last one hesitated. Kashara stepped. Forward, leave now. He dropped his weapon and ran. After clearing the area, the colonists stared at Kashara in awe. One small boy whispered, Are you one of them? She knelt down. I was. Why are you helping us now? She touched his shoulder gently. Because saving people feels better than hurting them. Back on the ship, the commander debriefed her. You saved 12 colonists, 0 casualties, fastest response we've seen in 6 months. Kashara said nothing. She didn't need praise, but when the commander added, You're being recommended for field command, something inside her stirred. Not because of her strength, but because of her choices. Later, as the stars passed by outside her window, Luke brought her a small silver badge. What's this? She asked. He smiled. Official rank, team leader. They want you full-time. She took it slowly, turning it in her hand. I never thought I'd wear something like this. Luke leaned on the wall beside her. You've earned it. She looked at him. My people would call me a traitor. He looked back, serious now. And what do you call yourself? She thought for a moment, then answered, Free. The galaxy whispered her name now, not with fear, but with respect. Kashara, the brave. Kashara, the rescuer. Kashara, the warrior, who chose life. Epilogue. Months passed. New missions came. New lives were saved. And slowly the story of the Valeran warrior who once gave up became the legend of the alien woman who rose again, because a human dared to care, because human hands didn't let her die, because she realized that the strongest warrior is the one who fights not for power, but for hope.